Girls on Tour is a book club that aims to keep us connected while shining a light on some badass women and gender diverse people within the entertainment industry. Touring can be incredibly boring and sometimes very isolating. Having stories to connect over can make us feel close no matter how far apart we are. So let's go there. Let's make our escape. Come on, let's go there. Let's go there. Can you take me higher?
Shit.
This has really opened up the potential for the tism to be shown. Like, I'm like, hello.
Let me
Really,
just.
we have so much room.
So much room for activities. ASMR.
Discovering Discovering the note feature on the Kindle
Life changing.
has changed my feral little life. And you know why? Because I'm just saying things. I'm just saying so many things. Literally me having a note in this book that says, "This is fucking me up, bitch. What the fuck?"
Are we in focus? Who's to know? None of my
It's
business.
not really our business. Honestly, the visual is
It's a little
treat.
extra. A little treat.
The visual is a little treat because we as people are not to be understood through words.
Truly. I need you to know my mannerisms and I need you to see my face because I'm too autistic to say it through my words.
Every emotion I've ever had, I have worn on my face.
My permanent frown line that will one day get taken away by Botox because what the fuck is going on?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. We're trying a little lounge moment.
We're lounging.
If you're watching this over on YouTube, which if you're listening to it on Spotify, hi. If you're watching it on YouTube, hello.
Hi.
We're trying a little lounge moment. We're at our friend Laura's place. Hi, Laura. Love
Hi,
you.
Laura.
There's also cats here. If we have any special guests, I'm
Maybe
so sorry.
This is the draw to get the people from the listening to over to the visuals.
Oh, yeah.
To be like,
They just
there
wanna
may or may
see-
not be
yeah.
cats. And I am definitely allergic to said cats. So if they try and sit on me at any point throughout this podcast, I will have to shoo them away. And I apologize.
So the visual is just going to be me talking while you're like,
like, or going into anaphylactic shock. No, I'm joking. It's not that bad. I just
at least
get
if it's on
sneezy.
camera when I take you to the hospital, I can be like, see,
This is what happened.
And that's fine.
So I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
And you know what I feel like will help ground us in that is that not once have we ever fucking known what we're doing
Truly.
anyway. So like
Truly.
it's not new.
But they think that we know. No, they don't. They don't at all think we know exactly what we're doing at any point.
I'm sure nobody is under that delusion.
Once you bring up being breedable, everything's on the table.
And you know what? I have a lot to say about that. If you want to hear more about breeding, go listen to our Cruel Prince episode. Look, it's going to come up. If you're someone I work with, don't watch these. If you're
This is
my
not
mother,
appropriate.
watch this with a hat of shame, knowing that you did this. I am your creation. Anywho.
What did we read?
Welcome to the Girls on Tour book club podcast and or visual aid podcast watching viewing thing. What do you call it when it's a visual? Is it still just a podcast?
I think it's
What are the podcast's pronouns?
Don't refer to me at all, but if you must.
But if you have to.
The video portion of the podcast. Maybe
Yeah.
that.
Anyway, so there's both of those. You're welcome.
You're
And
welcome.
you know what? You should be grateful because editing a podcast visually and audibly, it's a specific form of like self-harm that I've adapted as an adult. It really is incredibly painful, but I can't stop going back. I'm in like a toxic relationship because I can't trust anyone else with it.
And that is so real. One day we will get to a place where maybe we can find someone to pay to do it all, but also we're so funny. How do people know when our funny bits are happening?
And that's it. It's the fact that I don't trust people to leave in the bits where we're being hilarious, but then also to cut out the bits that are just filler. Because there are sometimes some things that I just get rid of because either it's not for the internet or because we're just talking shit.
One of us has gone on a rant and it makes zero sense. Yeah.
And trying to like piece back the sense of what we're doing and the tangents we go on, I think would be so difficult for somebody else. But this month, what we did do also transition
Okay, we're in.
was read What the River Knows by Isabel Ibañez. If it's Ibañez, thank you. I'm so...
Okay, so I've seen people say Ibanez, which is how we've been saying it. And I've also seen people say Ibanez
Okay, that makes sense.
with like a cute little accent. But I'm like, our Australian
basic and
accents
white,
will never
so, yeah.
never be able to recreate that.
Yeah.
So Isabel Ibañez. Whoa.
What? Crazy. I often try and, if we have an author who has like a very not basic white person name, I will try and look up how they pronounce their name. But authors are not doing enough interviews where they introduce themselves.
Yes.
Please, I don't want to say your name wrong.
It's
Help.
either someone else says it in the crowd and they're like,
Yeah.
this is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, did you say it right? And are they just like, as someone with a weird name, I just usually let people say my name weird. Let's be saying our full names.
Let's be saying our full names.
Speaking of which, who are you and who am I?
That was an incredible segue. Segue, is that the word?
Yeah.
Or is that the scooter
No,
you ride?
both actually.
And today we're going to talk about history and science because we clearly are intellectuals.
Women in STEM.
My name is Monique. I am a tech. I work in the entertainment industry. I'm currently working in professional musical theatre, touring across Australia and occasionally sometimes also the world, doing big old, very high budget, high stress shows. The thing that grounds me to being a little bit less of like a chaotic, feral wrath on the world is being constantly grounded by reading. And that is why I wanted to start a book club that could be accessible for everybody who cannot go to a physical place once a week, whether you are someone who travels for work, you are someone with mental or physical disability who can't make it in, whether you're a parent who doesn't have that kind of schedule, focused mostly around fantasy, being feral, and also giving a little bit of a platform to other women in jobs, in industries that do not usually allow for us. Patriarchy. Anyway, who are you?
And I'm just along for the ride. No, my name is Bryony. I am a marriage celebrant. I am all things romance and love, and that is why I'm here. I too love books and I use them as a bit of an escape. Especially, what am I saying? Who cares? Who cares?
Did you censor yourself? Let me start you on a tangent to maybe loop back to. I also feel like potentially there has been a huge element of, because of marriage being in the way that we often see it as a very like Catholicized, Christianity-based, blah, 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 whatever, very much a male-dominated industry, really, when you think about it. There wouldn't have been women marrying people. It would have always been men.
And it wasn't until like I'm probably getting my dates wrong, but like the 60s that civil celebrants, which is what I am, became a thing in Australia.
Classy.
And the first civil celebrant was a woman. The Governor General was like, I'm seeing a lot of religious people being able to marry people, but I'm not seeing a lot of not religious people. So he literally just called up one of his friends who was like a really good public speaker and like a good standing in the community. And he was like, hey girl, you're going to do some stuff and you're going to marry some people. The first civil celebrant was a woman. And that's why we're here today. But yeah, I love all things romance, all things fantasy, and I just love books, especially this book. I love it.
You know what I also love? Talking absolute fucking shit with you.
Yeah.
I exclusively have friendships based on yapping and based off of saying the dumbest shit. Everything within, please know, this is my disclaimer for you as anyone who's really in our lives in real life. Anything dumb you say, especially if you're a man, will become a bit within our friend group. That trend that's happening on like TikTok and stuff where people are like, we say this when we do this.
We could do that, but we would get in trouble.
We would get in so much trouble. I love this so much because Isabel, Izzy, can we call you Izzy? No, Isabel is besties with Rebecca Ross, who wrote Divine Rivals, which was our first book. They dedicated
their books to each other. Hold on, where is it? For Rebecca Ross, who fell in love with Egypt as I wrote the first draft, who cheered me on even as I reached dead ends, and who swooned when wit first walked across the page. Me too, babe.
Same. Because both of their books became quite popular last year, 2023. Sure. Time's a construct. Last year, 2023, sure. Both of their books kind of took off. Like they were released and they were very popular. And just the idea that both of them at the same time are sharing that little journey and that little experience as friends, just, the sisterhood, the girlhood. I love being a woman.
Little book besties.
Just them going to little cafes with their little publishing deals, like celebrating together as they simultaneously live a shared experience in that way. I'm screaming. Also historical fiction girlies, because the historical fiction of like obviously Divine Rivals, like we spoke about in our first episode, which if you haven't watched it, go and listen to it and or watch it and go read the book because oh my God.
Oh, it will ruin you in the
very
best way.
The Blitz coded. This book is not given like a fantasy spin in that way. It is straight up historical fiction, which was shocking to me that I loved it so much because usually I'm like, real life? I don't like that.
Boring.
I don't like that. That hurts. I'm not out here reading World War II books. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
That's
like
not
I'm
for
bored.
me. That's for big brain people. I use that big brain for other things.
But what things?
And that's no one's business.
This book is set in the 1880s, years, I think
Yeah,
it is.
girl.
Yeah, directly after the bombing of Alexandria. So much in this book was like historically accurate. Some of the characters are real people as well. And there's so much in there about archaeological digs in Egypt, artifacts being sent out of the country or sold to tourists or things like that. And the process of legality around who can dig where, who can dig what happens with that. The British and the French constantly fighting over trying to be the people who are ruling and building over Egypt instead of, I don't know, Egyptian people. And it is so interesting and so complex to people who are so passionate about unearthing the ancient civilization that has been there for so long. And our main character, her family are involved in that. And that is why we know so much about it and why we get to walk through it with her, which is very fucking cool.
I also really like that it's from the point of view of not a British/white person. So many books that are about this time period that are fictionalized are always about like, Britain, we're coming in, we're saving people, we're the best. And it's like, literally, no, you're a bunch of colonizers. Get out of my face. And so this is coming being like, oh, this is actually what the British were doing this whole entire time. And it shows how greedy they were and how they didn't care about preserving history. They just wanted to make a profit off it.
Huge.
And like take land, basically, which is what they're known for.
One of my favorite things about this book, which was one of my first notes that I wrote about it, was that I loved the unapologetic use of Spanish Argentinian culture in it, because our main character is from Argentina. Her parents go over to excavate and do the archaeological things. And I feel like in a lot of books, especially, clearly this is the author's culture as well. I think a lot of the time when you're marketing to a more like Western world, they would automatically explain things. Like they treat it like they have to explain what words mean or what events in the life mean, or like she's approaching her 19th birthday, so they talk about that and her use of language. I love that it wasn't dumbed down for the rest of us who maybe don't have an awareness of those cultures. Instead, it gave opportunity for you to go, oh, I don't know what that means. I'm going to look into it. Or what does that word mean? And I really like that, because I think it is a real shitty thing for Western world whiteness to be treated as the default, especially in a story set either in Argentina or Africa.
Yeah.
You know, like
let's put a bit of perspective. Thank you so much.
On the situation.
But that was what I really enjoyed about it. It's as if they wanted us to do the discovery and to search and not have to get everything thrown at us. Like we became part of that archaeological, like finding out all of the different things as well, which was really fun.
It gave me that feeling of being a kid again, becoming obsessed with Egypt, because hello, bisexual canon event to just be like,
okay.
everyone's Egypt phase.
I can't be the only person that in 1999 or whenever I watched The Mummy for the first time, it was a religious experience. I was changed that day. I came out of that movie theater in the tiny country town that I lived in, and I was reborn.
And at what point did you then decide you wanted to be an archaeologist?
That very day.
That very day. I had a similar, I didn't want to be an archaeologist. I wanted to be a forensic anthropologist.
Stop it right
because
now.
I was a pretentious cunt. Like what fucking 8-year-old is like, I want to be a forensic anthropologist. And then I settled on audio engineer. I was like, too hard. I'm not that smart. Never mind.
I think I wanted to be a librarian. But then when I realized that librarians now don't get to go to Egypt and fall in love with beautiful men and fight monsters, then I realized, okay, that's not what I want to do.
But then you come full circle, because as we get older, I'm like, ooh, to be a librarian and just to potter around and organize my little books.
Talk about books
delightful.
with people. Put them in alphabetical order or the Dewey Decimal System. Whoa! We're getting crazy.
Oh my God. That is my idea of a wild night now. Yeah.
But truly, Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz wrecked me on that day. Everyone in that movie, sorry,
hot
tangent.
for no reason.
Everyone is so hot.
For no reason. It's
for
like
what?
Atlantis. Why is everyone hot?
So
in that?
real. They said, we're going to get every single person hot and bothered. Everyone is going to leave this movie, no matter what age, no matter what you're into, you're going to love that shit.
But this is the effect that a lot of movies and pieces of art have. Like, it's the Chicago effect.
Yeah.
We went and saw Chicago last night. The show itself could be better. Could be better. It is what it is.
It
knows what it is as well, which is fun. Also, again, like we were saying last night, love having a show that has been around for so long that is main character focused on two middle-aged women. That never happens. We love to see it. And also they're like witty and funny and smart and sexy.
Yeah,
and
they're
like
not just like
three-dimensional women. We love. A lot of stand and sing songs.
Let's do a more moving.
You've got a fucking incredible ensemble out there. And every time time it's a full ensemble number, I was like, oh my God, I don't know where to look. But they were like, all the places where it's weak, but everyone's really hot. So, but then you get movies like The Mummy, which has everyone is really hot and it also has a lot of substance. And that is where bisexuality happens.
And that is where we were born on this day.
But the Egypt phase. So
Oh.
I definitely had that as a kid.
Mhm.
And you know what? Who's massively to blame? The Egyptology book.
Oh my God.
I saw Dragonology in a bookstore the other day and I was like, this was my childhood
This was everything.
life. Just incredible books. Very tactile. We love to see it.
Egyptology, Dragonology, Wizardology. There was so many.
Otherologies.
All the ologies.
Ologies.
Oceanology.
Oh,
Oh,
maybe
so
we'll do
good.
a Girls on Tourology one day.
It's just lists of the words that we all the words that we use. It's so
Just
beautiful.
little like, you know, how
Delicious.
They had the ones that like you'd interact with, like you'd pull out a thing. It's just like us punching blonde men. Like, no, get away. But I think the fascination of, especially if you grew up or if you were not absorbed in cultures that were ancient, which not a lot of us were, I
Yeah.
don't think. The fascination with things being so old when you're a child is crazy. Even when recently there was an exhibition in Sydney.
The Ramesses one.
Yeah. And I was standing there looking at these artifacts and I was like, this is 3,000 years old.
Insane.
Like I could genuinely not comprehend with my tiny little brain how old these things were and the craftsmanship that went into them in a time before we had the technology that we have now. And I think that is why everyone gets such a hard on for Egypt, because they cannot comprehend the craftsmanship of the things that they created. Their culture was one that had like a written language so that could be figured out, deciphered, blah, 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 whatever. Like we know so much because all of their leaders were like, I want to make something that lasts forever so everyone remembers me. Whereas
I'm gonna be the guy.
Whereas there are other ancient cultures, like Indigenous Australian people, their culture was to leave things and not impact the environment they were living in. So we don't have
And it was all
giant
stories.
monuments.
Yeah,
And
like all oral histories instead of writing things down.
So Egypt, I think everybody gets a bit of a hard on for as a kid because there is so much there that you can actually learn and that we know because of what's happened.
Do you know what freaks me out about the timeline of Egypt? And this is off the top of my brain, so I might not be my dates might not be right, but Cleopatra is closer in timeline to us than she is to the pyramids. What?
I don't like it.
That's terrifying.
I actually don't
isn't
like
it?
it.
Because I went to that Ramesses exhibition as well, and I was looking at all the dates, and I was with Ella and Mariana, and we were all just like, hold on. And we were like doing the math and looking at all this up, and I was like, this is insanity.
Also, just imagine that being part of your everyday life, like to be around, you know, because she would have been like, oh, and here I am at the pyramids, you know, vibing around things so casually that are just like thousands and thousands of years old already. And just like, anyway, that's fine. We get mold in every bathroom that's ever been built in the last 100 years.
And they were able to create these beautiful monuments and temples.
That could withstand time.
Yeah. The one, okay, this is also a tangent about the Ramesses exhibition. I don't know which one it was, but one of the temples that Ramesses built, and he had his statues.
And his wife.
And his wife's.
But also his ex-wife.
But also his wife was the same size as him. In the thing. And then the inscription was because when the sun rose on this temple, the light would flood in to the temple so everything could be seen. And one of the inscriptions said, for whom the sun rises, like her, she is the reason that the sun rises.
And all you hoes out here can't even talk about your fucking feelings. Like,
Can't even fucking
God.
articulate. And this pharaoh from ancient Egypt is building motherfucking monuments for his wife. Like, get out of town.
But also his first wife, because he did have a second wife.
And so sorry to her.
He did also like have statues and monuments and stuff of
Yeah.
her as well, but also very much was ride or die for his
the
OG
first
wife, which
my heart. Be still my romantic heart.
poor wife. His poor.
But you know what? She
second
was
wife.
married to a pharaoh. She was living it. She was in the best position.
Also, there is no, like, if you're going to be dating someone who had a previous queen, a previous wife, the only reason you want them to have broken up is death. Not that you want someone to die.
No. But
But like, oh,
because
I slept with her sister because this is Egypt, and then she got mad and we broke up. No, I don't want that.
No.
Be a widow or be not in my space. Jude Law in The Holiday, hottest man ever, because he's like, I'm a single dad, but not because I was shit. I loved her so much.
the universe
Incredible.
took her away from me. I say this to Matt all the time. I'm like, you can move on only if I'm dead. Like, you can leave me if I'm dead. And he's like, that's not my vibe. He has always said that he is going to become like a recluse and a hermit if I die first. He's like, I don't need to meet anyone else. I'm good. And I'm like, thanks.
He'd build a temple for you.
For whom the sun rises. But it would be for whom the moon rises. We get it. We get it.
Anyway, so what happens in this book?
Let's do a little spoiler-free introduce. Introduction.
Introduction? I don't know.
Introduce is when you've been dating someone and you have to introduce him to your friends. No. When he's like a bad guy and you've got to introduce him to your friends.
You're like, he looks better in person, I
You're
swear.
like,
Or it's the experience when people are like, oh my God, show me. And you're like, 1 second. And note to men out there, note to cis men out there, note to cis straight men out there, put some actually attractive photos of you that look like you as you are on your social media. For the love of God, please.
Truly. And if you're holding a fish, get out of my face, honestly.
Okay. This is on the back, so we're not spoiling anything. We follow
Inez.
Inez. I thought it was Inez, only because the only time I've ever seen this name used otherwise is
in
Inez
Hairspray?
Stubbs in Hairspray. Please correct us if you know the correct pronunciation, but we're going to say Inez. Two white girls try to do a podcast.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So we follow her. She lives at home basically with her aunt and cousins because her parents are involved in archaeological digs in Egypt. They are gone like 70% of the time. And the start of the book, we basically just get constant longing from her for her desire to be with her parents and to share life with them. And she admires them and loves them so much, but they're never around. Rip. And then she is awaiting a letter to find out if she can come and join them because she wants to join them. She wants to know about this place that has taken them away from her life, her whole life, and she instead receives a letter that they are missing, presumed dead, from her uncle, who is over there with them. And she, instead of going on with her life and being like, okay, well, I guess I'll just get a maid and get married and la la la, like everybody expects her and wants her to, she instead goes to find out what happened to her parents because she is not okay with the idea that they are assumed dead and that there are no answers as to what happened to them or what is going on.
And I think she also wants to understand the connection that her parents have with Egypt and why it was so important to them and why it pulled them away when she was literally a kid. Just bring her along. Like, what the heck? Like, don't have kids unless you're going to bring them anyway.
But that's rich people things. Yeah. They were like, we don't need to look after her. Somebody else will. And that's kind of all we can say spoiler free wise. Yeah. Oh, there's a really, really fucking cool magic system in this story as well.
Yes.
It's not a major plot point. It's not like, ooh, and the magic. The vibe is basically, I literally wrote, magic system is sick as hell. Because in this world, magic is something that was very common back in the day, but was an orally... was passed through oral... was taught verbally to people, so therefore has been lost over time. But artifacts have still got magic in and around and on them, and every time they're handled, a little bit goes away. So magic has been slowly disappearing, but remnants of it are still found on things. And in the story, we interact with items that have magic, that have been Cleopatra's or other people from a bajillion years ago. And you can see, like, she sees her memories and can smell her and, like, all of these very cool things. But it's not like, and then the magic, like it's just like this kind of really cool, like casual. I really liked the way that it was done.
It feels so intertwined with the world, but it's like even people in the world don't really have a grasp on it anymore either. So it's like we're at the same level as anyone in the story because like no one is alive that can do the magic anymore. And it feels very like ancient and
spooky special. When she gets there, when she gets to Egypt, which is not how I'm going to pronounce it because it's a real place. When she gets to Alexandria, she arrives in Alexandria by boat. Her uncle is pretty much just like trying to send her straight back home. And she's like, nay. But one of the guys who works for her uncle, his name is Wit. He's snarky and he's handsome. And we all know what that means.
Whitford Hayes, the man that you are.
Oh my God, we're going to get into it. But she just meets all these new people and interacts with all of these crazy cultures and sees the city after it's been bombed, which she has this whole passage when she gets there talking about how different it is to read about it versus to actually see it. She also absolutely sasses a guy on a train about being British and was like, oh, just here to destroy more things, I guess, which go off.
She is so sassy and I love it. So
sassy.
Yeah.
And then she's trying to stay because she wants to figure out what the fuck is going on. And that's pretty much her vibe the whole book. I'm not gonna lie.
She's trying to find everything that's going on and no one is telling her literally anything.
But she can tell that there's things that are hidden, like things things don't make sense. Things are not lining up. It's very much like a mystery, figuring out the thing, which mysteries aren't my jam. If you pitched this to me as a historical fiction mystery, I wouldn't pick it up. But I'm glad I did because it is fucking amazing.
The way that they pitch it on the back of this book is the mummy meets death on the Nile in this lush historical fantasy filled with adventure, a rivals to lovers romance, and a dangerous race against time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly what
Where
it
is my satchel? Where is
my satchel and my linen shirt?
Oh, the linen. That's really all we can say for free spoilery times.
So spoiler free is over. You now have time to go and read the book if you haven't yet, because now we're about to get feral.
I think I want to begin on a sad point, just so we can get it out of the way and then get feral. Actually, it'll probably come back. But the beginning sad point is just the feeling that I had reading the start of the book of just her desperate longing for her parents. Absolutely fucking crushed me. I highlighted some passages on my Kindle.
While you look for that, can we just say this is not a sponsored ad because why would Kindle sponsor us at all? But
Kindle, please.
Kindle
Amazon
has revolutionized how we read our books.
Okay.
Being able to just whip out quotes, write little cheeky notes to ourselves.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I was so against getting a Kindle. I love the tactile experience of reading a physical book, but especially as somebody who travels for work constantly and lives out of a suitcase 90% of my year, this has changed my fucking life.
Amazing.
Also, I bought a book when I was in Adelaide because it wasn't on Kindle yet. The cowboy one.
Oh,
I bought the physical book and then I was at work and I just went to pull it out backstage and went, oh, it's dark. I can't see. Oh my God, because it doesn't come with its own light. Crazy.
Revolutionary.
Also, my Kindle just fits in my back pocket of my work pants, which is crazy. Fits in my back pocket. I just pull it out and I read wherever I want. So crazy. You can just get books straight on there. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do anything. You know all the books that you've read. You can highlight things. You can like make little notes. I love it. I'm a ride or die Kindle person now.
Yeah, baby.
And I was so against it. So do that.
Anywho, highlights.
Because I reread this book.
Yeah, we've read it twice.
We've both read it twice now because I read it in December. There was a vlog about my December reading vlog. I read it in December and then I reread it again when we decided we were going to do it for the book club because I wanted to remember all the things.
Yeah.
Especially having the context of knowing the story. The first couple of chapters set up the story so fucking well. Like just the introductions to characters, to Egypt, to her parents, to the magic system. Like everything was just slotted in there so seamlessly and beautifully. And I was like, oh, Isabel, babes,
Chef's
you fucking
kiss.
did that. But the longing of the parents, there were two that I highlighted and cried about. She was just talking about like what her life would be moving forward. If I went back, I could predict what my life would look like down to the hour. And then she kind of explains what it would look like. And she said it wasn't a bad life, but it wasn't the life I wanted. I wanted one with my parents.
All she ever wanted was just to be with them.
Literally.
Oh
like
my
even when they were
God.
alive, all she wanted was that, and now she'll never have it. And then there was this one, which she was talking about how she desperately wanted to see Egypt because her parents viewed this place as home above being with her. So if she could go there and understand what was so special about it, then she wouldn't feel like it was because she wasn't good enough. Crazy. So she's talking about being there. And she said this was a second home to them. For all I knew, maybe Cairo was their home. More than Argentina, more than me. If I left, I'd never understand what brought them here year after year, never learn who they were so I wouldn't forget about them. If I left, I'd never learn what happened to them. More than anything, I wanted to know what was worth their lives, if they thought of me at all, if they missed me.
Okay, now we all need a little bit of therapy because what the fuck?
I think it's such a beautiful depiction of grief, especially from like a child mind where you still view your parents as like gods, where you're like, well, parent. For those of us who hate their dads, when you see them as like larger than life, your world revolves around them. They are very much the sun of your world. That is so captured in the way that she talks about her parents because she admires them so deeply and cares about them so much. And she's almost got this like parasocial relationship with them because she knows so much about them and she's with them sometimes, but then they're fucking gone most of the time.
She only ever really knows her parents in these tiny little moments, and they're usually the moments where they've come back and they're so excited to see her and they take her to places and they do things with her. But she doesn't know the mundane parts of her parents and the icky parts. That like everyone has icky parts. She doesn't know them. She just knows the idea of them.
Yeah.
Which is all the way through the book as well. And even when she finds out more and more about her parents, she still struggles with
marrying the reality of who they are with who she thought they were. Or realizing they weren't who she thought they were. Even like when she first gets there and she gets put in their room and she sees her mum's like dresses and clothes and she's like, oh, she would never have worn these at home. Like there's clearly a part of her here that feels like free and is herself. And it just crushes my little soul.
And when she gets there and the attendant at the hotel goes, you look just like your mother. And she's like, oh, I wouldn't know because like I barely see her.
Guess
like,
so.
Cool.
That's how genetics work, I guess. Like, oh my God. Yeah, just so many of my notes. The yearning for her parents, rip, fuck me up. This is so shit.
I love that it's woven into the entirety of the story as well. Spoiler, her mum is not dead and fucking betrays her and she doesn't get it. Her mum leaves her on the side of the river after taking the artifacts, after, you know...
convincing her that her uncle killed her dad.
Yes, making this man who's only ever cared for her...
Who's her brother, by the way?
Yeah.
Her brother.
Like making her own brother out to be this horrible, horrible man and then leaving her there and she's still like, oh no, what happened? Like how did this happen? What happened? Blah, blah, blah. And then it's not until Whit is like, no, she is a bad person. I didn't want to tell you your mother was a bad person because I didn't want to ruin the idea of her.
And I thought she was dead.
Yeah. And it's like, I just thought you could live with this beautiful idea of her. And she still doesn't get it. And then when they're stuck in that cave or like they're trapped or whatever, and she's like, oh no, my mum's going to come and save me. And it's like, she's isn't, not. Babe. She couldn't give two shits about you.
From the start, the things with her mum start to come up, which again, only realized again during the reread of like, she finds her mum's journal or she finds like a letter or like something. She finds written correspondence. I think it's the journal where her mum is basically implying that her uncle killed her dad or that he can't be trusted or that he's doing sus things. So she immediately is like, he's a suspect.
Yeah.
And she spends the whole book like afraid of him, but also feeling conflicted because he's showing her such kindness and care. And she's like, what is going on? Like no one in this book can be trusted. Everyone has their own agenda. Everything is a mystery, even in your personal interactions with them. And it was just so layered and delicious.
And it's also that she couldn't fully trust her uncle, not only because what her mother had said, but because she had never felt like that type of familial love before. Like her aunt loved her in her own way, was like, cared for her and made sure, she was okay, but never truly understood her. So she didn't understand what being cared for in that way felt like because her parents were never there. And then this woman comes in and ruins it even more.
Also, I've been in my redemptive mother arc era for years. And the way this bitch
she's got to do a lot
fucked over her child.
And it wasn't
standing on the little bank of the river waiting for
with her little boyfriend that she stole artifacts with.
Cunt. Absolute cunt. Like just the worst. And I was like, I can't deal with mums being the villain.
Please don't do this to me.
Fundamentally, that goes against everything I believe. Like, what do you mean? Not a good time.
It's also that like if she had known her mum was a bad person from the beginning or had suspicions of, so many things would have panned out better. So many things wouldn't have happened.
Huge.
Or she would have been able to believe her uncle when he told her things and when he hinted at things. But
which leads me to the question. I can't remember if this got explained and I'm just stupid. Where's her dad?
Okay.
Is he alive?
Everyone
is he dead?
Presumed dead.
But so was the mum and she's kicking it with her fucking
But then the mum goes, no, your dad's dead.
Don't trust
you're
her though.
You're
we know
liar.
we can't trust her.
Yeah, you're a fucking liar. So how am I meant to know? So we don't know, no. There's no body. No body, no crime. We don't know where he is.
No body, no crime. Speaking of people you can't trust.
Okay, but we can't get there. We can't.
I've got to
talk about how much you love him first.
We have to go from the start.
Okay.
I literally wrote, Wit, don't embarrass me, motherfucker.
Yes.
Because, okay, he shows up.
Listen.
He's unimpressed. Is he blonde?
No.
Okay, great.
Why would we care about him if he was blonde?
I just didn't know whether he was blonde and I dissociated that and went, anyway, he's snarky, he's sarcastic, he's rude, he has no care for social niceties, he's a little bit of a drunk.
He has a little gun
and
on
that's
his hip.
The concoction of every toxic thing I love about him.
He's a little drunk. I love it.
He's troubled and I could fix him.
Yes.
Is what I'm saying.
Oh my God.
And he likes her tenacity. Her like, I want to go here and I'm going to pretend to be a widow and I'm going to, like, he's like, oh, you're interesting and you're fun. Like, you're not just like a little lady of society doing little society things. Like, he loves that about her.
Because I realized reading this again that this is at the same time as like
this is like Regency era. Yeah.
I didn't realize that because like it feels so separate.
Yeah. There's still very much like high society.
Yeah. And like
that's
women
where she
can't go
comes
places
from.
without a chaperone and they, can't talk to men in certain ways. And she just jumps in and she's like, don't talk to me like that. Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, whoa, I'm used just a meek little ladies who don't say anything.
Should we
What is
kiss?
this? Like, should we kiss about it? Like, what does he say? I've got some highlights too. He says, "You're more resourceful than I thought you would be," he said cheerfully. "It's been duly noted, so don't try that shit with me."
So
but I
stressed.
will.
But I will. And she does.
And then he says, "Oh, one of my favorites. It would have been better if I found you stuffy and boring."
And what a mood.
And what do you find her, sir?
Not
what is
stuffy
it?
and
Not
interesting.
and someone you want to kiss.
On the mouth, maybe.
Inez, as a narrator, is quite reliable because she's very observant.
And she's trying to figure shit out. So
Yes.
she's looking for all the things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she notices people when their demeanor changes, when they have little quirks and that kind of thing. And I really enjoy that as a reader because there's nothing worse than reading a book where you've got an unreliable narrator who doesn't notice anything and is just there vibing. I'm like, that's great for you, but I need to know what's going on.
I need you to pay attention.
Like, please.
Please.
But she notices all of these little moments with him. And I guess she is paying more attention to him specifically because he's hot. But she notices these little moments where she's like, oh, is he? Like, why is he staring at me like that? Like, what is that look that he's... And I'm like, babe, he's staring at you because you're interesting. And he's trying to figure you out. Let's give you a little kiss.
He knows how you smell. And back to the smelling of it all. We started yelling about this earlier and then we were like, we need to stop. Because he's like, when she sneaks on the ship to be like, I'm not running away, I'm coming with you, la la la. And she sneaks on the ship and pretends to be a servant. He clocks her because of how she smells. I'm sorry. I've not had a friend for 3 days that I know what they smell like.
Yeah.
Have you? That's reserved exclusively for people that I want to kiss on the mouth.
People who I've been in and around their like business for more than 3 days. I like smells. I like to smell nice.
Autistic.
I like... what's that you say? Autistic. I really enjoy smells.
Yeah.
And I like to smell a certain way. And when I hug people, I like to know what they smell like. That's very much a thing. But
I think
I'm
it's
not
like
going to remember.
It's a sensory thing.
Yes.
And smell is so attached to like memory and blah, 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 blah.
Sensory seeking is the energy that we're looking
Whoa.
for. Yes. But he literally says, my God, it was you, he said in a marveling tone, serving us dinner. I thought I smelt vanilla. And she's like, what? And he goes, your soap. Like, I know what your soap smells like. It's like, how do you know what my soap smells like?
The way that I would be like, oh, so you're obsessed with me.
Oh.
But I would also be like, oh, yeah, I smell. Like, I'd be so paranoid about how I smell after that. I'd be like, oh my God.
He is very protective over her. And originally it's because he's paid to be protective of her. And like when they're walking through the streets of, is it Cairo? Yeah. They're walking through Cairo and like a man is walking towards her all like, hey. And he's like, step the fuck back.
Get
like,
out of here.
He's like, get the fuck out of here.
Get out of my face.
And even when he's not walking with her, I can't remember, I didn't highlight it, but there's a line when she's like, even when we're not walking together, he makes it known that we are together.
And that's all we want. I also love how constant her observations are of him, that he just completely rejects the polite thing to do. Like he'll come and sit down in places and just, much like I'm doing right now, he'll just like lounge on things and like slump in chairs. And I'm like, it's really hot of you, actually.
Yeah. And she's like, that's improper, but I like it.
And properly hot as fuck.
It's very obvious from the beginning of the book that they have a connection. Like,
yeah, because they're mad at each other, but they want to kiss.
They both know Shakespeare. Like they keep quoting Shakespeare to each other, which I'm sorry. I'm one of those people that is the sexiest thing ever.
There is nothing quite like the experience of thinking that someone is mildly insufferable, but then having things in common with them. That's the true enemies to lovers of it all. Being like, you're a bit obnoxious and you make fun of me.
Why are we the same?
Why do we like the same books?
Yeah. But he's got some secrets.
Inez fell for it. Felt the white!
Okay. The ending of this book
fucked me
ruined me in a way that I don't think I am ever able to recover from. The first time I read it was the physical copy, and there were so many pages left that I thought we were going to continue. But it was the author's note. Isabel had written a very large author's note, and I didn't realize, and I read the epilogue thinking it was going to go on for longer, and it didn't. And I was like,
what the fuck?
It was honestly perfect. Like, well done. Like, books rarely shock me.
Yeah.
Usually I can, like, figure out the ending of a book by the end. Nay.
I feel like Isabel and Rebecca sat down and went, how do we hurt everyone? How do we hurt them? How do we bring them the greatest of joy and then hurt them?
I'm going to give you a beautiful romance that will have you giggling and kicking your little feet and living for it. And then I'm gonna try and kill you.
Like, it's not like everything else was like fine and dandy. So you weren't looking for a conflict or a betrayal or whatever, because her cousin gets fucking shot.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah. She
What's
gets
her
like
name?
kidnapped.
What's her name?
Elvira.
Oh, poor thing just wanted to live.
Which also at the start of the book, she's complaining that her mum named her Elvira. She's like, that's a boring name. And I'm like, up. The goths are going to love it one day,
Yeah.
babe. Don't you worry.
Like,
Don't
just
you worry. Because her
sit with it,
sister's
babe.
name is Amarantha.
Amarantha, which, if you know, you know. I totally forgot. And she gets shot in the fucking head, doesn't
Yeah.
she? It's aggressive. Oh my God.
It's heaps. I was
It's-
like, oh, okay, so my heart is broken and I'm crying.
Yeah.
I was not waiting for another thing to go wrong.
Truly.
Because that already was so wrong and so icky and just so heartbreaking. And then for it to be another one, I was like, Isabel, I'm down. Get your
Please
boot
stop
out of my guts, girl.
Please stop kicking me. It's done. Like, please. I think it hurt so much because he was so believable. And maybe it's my romantic little heart that thinks that maybe there's something else that's going on and he's not a bad person because he can't be.
But this is it. She has preyed upon the most human of romantic emotions, which is, I didn't expect a betrayal here. So obviously there's something happening I don't understand. Like, I just
Yeah.
don't understand. Because as soon as he was like, she fell for it, I was like, surely he's doing something to protect her. And we have no fucking idea
Yeah.
yet. Because all of their interactions have been so genuine and so beautiful. And if he is a liar, if he hurts her, I'll never believe in love again.
Like, how can he say,
I will be emotionally celibate for the rest of my life if Whitford Hayes hurts her.
if he turns into the villain, if this is like a rivals to lovers, then lovers to enemies, which would be so cool, but not for this one.
It would
Do
be
it somewhere else.
It would be sick, but I will not recover. And just the arc of the way that their romance started to begin with, of them like not liking each other and then liking each other and then her. And also because she's gone through enough.
Let her have some joy.
Her parents aren't who they
Please.
thought she would be. She's been fucking neglected her entire life. Now she finds out her mum is a cunt. And then also her dad's probably still dead. Maybe. We don't know. Who can be sure?
Her cousin's just been
her
shot.
cousin's been shot in the head in front of her because people thought that she was her.
Yeah.
Gonna carry that guilt for the rest of her life, I
my
fucking guess.
God.
And now this man, I'll ride at dawn. I'll kill him.
When they're in the cave together, when they think they're about to die, and she says, "Is this it, Whit?" I whispered, and he goes, "If it is, this is where I want to be. If you lied in that moment, I will come and kill you." Like,
But
how
also-
can he say, "This is where I want to be"? How can he say you can't marry him because he won't kiss you the way that I will?
And how are you kissing your betrothed, Whit? You bitch.
Bitch. Actually, I forgot about her.
Yeah, didn't we all? But also it
Interesting.
was like they're not actually in love with each other, arranged marriage, family,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Like fair, icky, but also I'm sorry, this is literally a moment where you think you're going to die. Looking back at that moment with the perspective of knowing he's hiding something. You think you're about to die and you don't confess to her whatever's going on.
Interesting.
Like if I was in that setting and I genuinely did care about somebody, I would be
Yeah.
like, this has been the reality of the situation
Yeah.
and I'm so sorry and
But we are still, I
still
still really love you and blah, blah, blah. Okay.
because instead he's given her like, I want to be here.
But let's
How
remember,
do men say
men are
all of-
stupid.
How do men say nothing with so many words? It baffles me every year of my adult life.
Truly. They say the things
They
that
think you want to
they
hear.
think you want. But do you know what we want to hear? The truth.
And in full formed
Yeah.
sentences with emotional awareness and intelligence.
Yeah.
I'm so outrageously fucking excited for the sequel. Also because we don't really know what is gonna happen.
It's
like we know
called-
that there's like, it's called What the Library Hides, which we're getting more mummy vibes
Yeah.
for sure. Also the cover's beautiful. Also the cover is beautiful.
Okay. Yeah.
Ugh.
And
All the artwork and
the
and we're there.
artwork. Oh my
And we're
God.
there. Which is also such a cute element because she is an artiste. Like that
More
is part
books.
of the reason why she ends up being like, I'm valuable to the expedition. Let me carry on.
More books need
Little drawings.
little pickies.
And that's not just because I'm stupid.
I want vibes.
Mm.
Bring me into
Mm.
it.
Give me a fun little font that makes sense. You know?
Her little handwritten list.
Mhm.
Like, hello?
Yeah.
Isabel has created such a beautiful world.
So vivid. Her writing is so fucking vivid. Like I'll skim read like a motherfucker
Yeah.
through a description of a thing. I'm not going to lie to you. I will. I'm bored. I'm moving on. I want the juice. Give me the witty characters.
Give me the vibes.
But this book had me like, oh, okay, going back and rereading things because I was like, wow, which is also something that that I remember doing in Divine Rivals because
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my God,
Like,
how
delicious.
incredible. So yeah, the sequel, my thoughts, because we know
Mhm.
that there's this thing with Wit being shit. And we know that's happening. But also they all left the dig when her cousin came to find her and then was in danger, right?
Yeah.
So like that's still going on. Are they going to go back? Are they going to find other things? What is going to happen with the dig and what they find in the dig?
And then you got to think about the fact that the British are there trying to steal stuff
Yeah.
still. All of the antiquities people.
Because her uncle and her parents, her mum, their vibe for the digs that they do has always been uncover something, document it, and make note of it for historical reference, and then leave it as it is. That's why they don't want people knowing where they're digging, because they don't want all of this shit to get like pillaged and destroyed and sold as fucking trinkets.
Yeah.
They want to preserve the history and leave things as they were, which is beautiful.
The uncle's wife was an Egyptian woman. And is Abdullah her brother? Is that how they know each other? The Egyptian man?
Sure.
I really hate that we spent most of this book not trusting the uncle because he cares
deserved
so
better.
much. He deserves so much better. And all he wanted to do was record this history that he loves and that his wife loves and to have it be there for like generations to come. And for, you know.
Instead, he gets betrayal and his sister's a bitch.
Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't mention this before. They found Cleopatra's tomb, right? Let's think about that in the context of real life. For a
Where it
second.
has not ever been found.
Because Cleopatra was like, no man will ever find my tomb.
Hot.
The closest person currently, this is in real time right now, a woman is so close to finding her. I think she's like a lawyer / archaeologist /
Name's like Catherine?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And she is so close to finding her. And how poetic is that?
Didn't she think she'd found it, but it was underwater?
Yeah,
Which makes
yeah.
sense, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But also, there are just so many things about Cleopatra. Let's go back to the Egypt of it all. There are so many things about Cleopatra that are so fucking cool. First of all, the only Greek ruler to ever bother to learn the Egyptian language and to actually respect their culture.
Even when people of that same culture didn't even learn the ancient languages.
The marrying your brother part? Not my favorite,
Look.
but it's what was done. Go off.
Do what you got to do.
The Caesar of it all?
The Mark
Hot.
Antony of it all. Girl.
Someone give me a book recommendation that is like a romance novel about that throuple because I need it in my bones.
And I want it to be a genuine throuple where everyone's kind of into each other.
A little bit gay.
Yes, give it.
Yeah.
Give it to me now.
Sorry, she was with him for that long and they were together and they were having kids and stuff and his like right-hand man who she ends up with later, they weren't. Okay.
And if we know about like anything about ancient times, they were fucking.
100%.
Yeah.
What was he, Roman? Do I see that?
Caesar?
Roman?
Yeah, he was Roman. And the Romans, they were doing everything.
But also the fact that their kid's name was Caesarion.
Is that why a cesarean is called that?
I don't know.
I'm going to look that up.
Because that's cool as hell. The reality of her as a figure that they're looking for is also a really cool point, and I hope that gets explored more in the next book.
Yeah.
Because her story in itself is so fucking sick.
I need to know what happens. Is this a duology too?
Yep. And also, you know what? I'm loving duologies at the moment.
We say this every time. More duologies, please.
More duologies.
I don't give two craps about a 3, 4, 5, 6, 1,000 book series. Nay. Give me it in 2.
Unless they're a series for vibes and not for consistent plot. The Elsie Silver cinematic universe,
Yeah,
I will
okay.
accept.
So true,
because
so real.
you could pick up and read any of those books on their own and they make sense, but also they're just people who are related and like there's more context if you wanted to go through it, which just means that when you read a story, there's this like beautiful familiarity that you have with it, which is really nice and sentimental. I'm not doing a Sarah J. Maas 16 book multiverse fucking, I'm too old for that.
I'm really sick of reading books where it could have been wrapped up in 2
Because
or 3.
I'm sorry, there is literally no way you are writing a book series that is 16 fucking books long that is all killer, no filler. Like there's no way. And if you just do a sweet, good little duology, it's done before you have a chance to fuck it up.
And if you
Stop doing fan service books to sell more books, authors, and just write a fucking great little duology, a trilogy. Like bring back trilogies. You know what I mean?
Bring back trilogies.
Ugh.
I think it really does take an amazingly talented author to be able to get it done into.
Oh, yeah.
You can tell when people aren't very talented if they need more than a certain amount, or they need, more time to flesh things out. The Isabel Ibañez and Rebecca Ross are able to do it in two and also write it beautifully.
I think there's also a level of knowing what part of the story you're trying to tell. Because even like Divine Rivals, that could have been a fucking bajillion, squillion book series.
And I would have eaten it up, sorry.
And I would have. But if she'd gone back, she could have done a spin-off series that was about Dacre and Enya. Like, she could have done that. She could have done other people in the story and given them all point of views as well. The man with the little car. She could have done all of that, but instead she just told this one story at this one time very well and gave us enough context from everything else to understand. Not every story needs to be explored that deeply.
And not every character needs to be explored.
Not every character is the main character.
I friggin' love this book. I knew I would love this book. As soon as I heard about it, I knew that I would absolutely eat it up. And then I didn't read it for months because of who I am as a person.
I'm scared. I don't hate that for you because I read this in December, knowing the sequel comes out the following November.
Did I read it in January? Yes.
To have to wait. Oh my God. So it's a little bit closer for us now.
We've given you a bit more time. We didn't want to give you...
We wanted to do this in like February.
Yeah.
Like we wanted to do this book so early, but I could not in good conscience make it the fucking February book and then have to wait until November for the sequel to come out.
But we also didn't want to make it the November book because we wanted you to hurt as much as we did.
Absolutely. And October's for spooky vibes. So.
Spooky. When he says, "Did you know you tasted like roses?" Which makes me think, like, is the magic taking over her? You know what I mean?
Is this about to become a ghost story? Is she about to get possessed by
she
Cleopatra?
We've said it here first. Is she a descendant of Cleopatra? Shut up. And can I say, another book that doesn't have smutty vibes, and I loved it. I didn't need the smut. When the romance was romancing, I don't need any smut at all.
It really do just show you. It really do. That... I hated the way I said that, so I wanted to repeat it. It really does show one, that it is all about the banter.
Yeah, you can have witty banter and keep your clothes on, and I'll love it.
And that is pretty relevant to real life as well.
Yeah.
If you're going to take anything away from this.
Witty banter, keep your clothes on, and you'll get...
potentially betrayed.
Yeah. Damn it! Every time!
If you haven't already shared them, we need to hear your thoughts on this month's book. In order to have spoiler-free chats about the books that we're reading, we are using the book club app Fable. It's free, it's quick and easy to make an account and keep up to date with the Girls on Tour book club. There are 2 separate book clubs, one for the non-fiction book and one for the fiction books. Make sure you head over to our Instagram, TikTok and YouTube page at the start of every month to see what book is coming next. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching if you're watching this on YouTube.